This is exactly what he wrote on X, and I believe on Facebook as well. Let me start with Mr. Kwesi Pratt. Mr. Kwesi Pratt, what do you make of this?
Well, I think that this is a very simple matter. It's not complicated at all. If indeed members of the Appointments Committee have been demanding bribes, to carry out their duty, it is clearly an offense. Not just an offense, it's a criminal offense. And for which those who have received and paid bribes ought to suffer sanctions as prescribed by the law. It would also substantially damage the integrity and perhaps the credibility of the Appointments Committee of Parliament, and by extension, Parliament itself. So this is a very, very serious allegation. On the other hand, if the allegations are frivolous, without any foundation and so on, we ought to take a serious view of it, because to impugn the integrity of the Appointments Committee and Parliament itself would be injurious to the practice of democracy in this country, and it ought to be taken very, very seriously. I'm intrigued by the fact that Mr. Vormawor claims to have evidence and claims that he has the capacity to prove the allegations he made before the Appointments Committee today. We are all waiting for the outcome in a few hours, perhaps even minutes. The drama would unfold, and I want to see a situation where he's given all the opportunities to prove his case. If he's unable to prove his case, then of course the law must apply. And I think we should avoid the situation where people who are in the public space, like you, like him, take advantage of the opportunities that are available to them and go berserk. If that is the case, it should not be tolerated at all. And Mr. Vormawor ought to be dealt with as any other citizen who infracts the law. So that's my position. The Appointments Committee today would give him an opportunity to prove his case, and if he's unable to do so, the consequences are very clear. So I have nothing more to say.
All right, I see. It surprises me, though. As a lawyer, you would expect much better in terms of his sense of judgment. To put out an allegation like this and actually even muster the confidence to say that, yes, I'm going to go to Parliament and prove my case. That's the impression I get from that, the reaction to him being summoned before Parliament. But you notice, Uncle Kwesi, that there was a heated debate between the minority and the majority side on the Appointments Committee as to whether the vetting should proceed or not. The minority made a simple case, which is that, look, we don't want a situation where we're going to vet and then, possibly approve you. And then the public is going to think that you gave us money, and that's why we approved you. And so we don't want to be a part of this until the substantive matter is heard. It is either he has evidence to come and prove that you, the chairman of the Appointments Committee, and some of your colleagues, remember the allegation was more to do with the chairman and his colleagues, but on the majority side. And that until he has evidence to prove that indeed you, the chairman of the Appointments Committee, you take money before vetting and approving people, we are not interested in continuing with this. And then the minority side, of course, with the chairman himself, saying that yes, we totally understand your feeling, we totally understand where you're coming from, but we cannot punish Dr. Omane Boamah, who is sitting before us. He's here with his family, relatives, and everybody else who is there to support him. We can't ask the man to go back just on account of an allegation by just one person. In any case, the business of government must continue or must go on. Uncle, do you think that the decision by the Appointments Committee to even continue with the vetting, despite this allegation that was made against the against the committee, do you think that it was an appropriate or an accurate sense of judgment on their part, or you think they should have suspended it till the matter was heard?
Well, first of all, I don't see how asking a nominee to go home and come back the next day can be described as punishment. That's very strange. If there are circumstances which make it impossible for a committee of parliament to continue sitting and witnesses are asked to go home, that cannot be punishment. And I was watching the vetting process, and I was really surprised about that kind of claim that asking Dr. Mani Vormawor and his supporters to go home would amount to punishment. In the first place, those who followed him there, really, what is their role in the process? There's something which has developed over the years, and I find particularly repugnant. You understand? This question of mobilizing people from MPs, constituencies, and from all over the place to come and show solidarity and so on, in a certain sense, is meant to intimidate. To show that, look, these are the big men and so on behind me, and you better be careful, how you deal. And I find it extremely repugnant. I think that we should stop it, somehow. Because also, it has very serious financial implications.
Right.
Imagine that somebody from Wa or Bolga and so on is appearing before the appointments committee, and all the chiefs in his locality are mobilized to come to Accra. And sometimes there are 20, 30, 40 people. Even the transport cost alone is mind-boggling. And then when they come to Accra, the minister, the nominated minister, has to take care of their accommodation, their feeding, and so on. Why would you impose these burdens on the nominees from the very beginning? How much do our members of parliament and ministers earn? And we've all been complaining that the burdens imposed on them by their constituents and so on may be a reason why, sometimes they have to cut corners in order to make some money to satisfy those conditions and so on. And we are beginning to see that this practice of bringing supporters to the appointments committee and so on is not diminishing. It's increasing. The numbers of people are increasing, the prominence of the people who follow them and so on. So we need to stop that. And that should not become a basis, for deciding whether to continue the work of the appointments committee or not. I would think that the minority had a point, okay? But in the final analysis, that point, I think, was overstretched. If there are question marks about the integrity of members of the appointments committee and so on, it's only fair that those issues be cleared before the appointment committee continues its work. You understand? But under the circumstances, I listened to the chairman of the appointments committee who made the point that we are not ignoring the matter. The matter has just come before us, and we've taken appropriate measures, including extending an invitation to the person who made the allegations to come before us. So we can continue with the vetting and then deal with the issues much later. It didn't make sense to me, and I didn't see why the issue was dragged and dragged and dragged over a very long period of time. Today, Vormawor would appear before the committee.
Yeah.
It may appear that the allegations are frivolous without any foundation. It's possible. It may also turn out that he has evidence, and that will be exceedingly interesting. If it turns out that he has evidence, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exceedingly interesting. All of us are waiting to see what will happen in the Appointments Committee of Parliament today.